The life. Let's now look into the life that changed the age. What kind of life was it? I have such a heavy burden about this. I fear and tremble that I may fail God in His revelation. I am not trying to give you a good sermon. I want to discharge my burden upon you, passing on the burden that the Lord has given me. How we need to see the kind of life that God can use to change the age. Inheriting the godly ways of the fathers. This life always inherits the godly ways of the forefathers. Thank God that Noah, the 10th generation from Adam, had many good forefathers. Enoch was the 7th generation, Methuselah the 8th, Lamech the 9th, and Noah the 10th. All of Noah's 9 forefathers from Adam to Lamech were godly men. Although Genesis gives us a record of man's fall, that is only a background showing us the true picture of the godly ways. Adam's way of salvation. Noah inherited Adam's way of salvation. In Adam, we see the way of salvation. Although Adam had fallen, he was given the way of God's salvation. If you had never fallen, you would never be able to taste the sweetness of God's salvation. Since we have been fallen and saved, we can testify of the sweet taste of God's salvation. Let us come with joy to draw water out of the wells of God's salvation. Adam was the pioneer in drawing water out of the wells of God's salvation. He was so joyful that he called his wife's name Living. Eve means living. Do you not think that he was joyful when he called her Living? I am quite sure that he joyfully drew water out of the wells of salvation. I have no doubt that Noah inherited this way of salvation. Abel's way of offering. Noah also inherited Abel's way of offering. Adam's way was the way to get himself saved, but Abel's was the way to please God by offering his gifts to him. Can you imagine that a fallen man could please God? Abel was a fallen man who pleased him. His way of pleasing God was that of offering the type of Christ to God. I can please God in the same way. Although I am a fallen man with a fallen nature, I can please God by offering Christ to Him as a gift. I am not boasting, but I can declare to you that I have pleased God very much in these recent days. I know that God has been pleased with me. Even this morning and this afternoon, I was happy because my God was pleased. My God was happy, and I was happy too. What is the way to please God? It is the way of Abel, which is to offer Christ to God, not only as a sacrifice for our sins, but also as a gift for pleasing God. Whenever you give a person a gift, he will be happy. Likewise, whenever we bring Christ to God, He is very happy with our gift. God is pleased with Christ. Noah surely adopted Abel's way. Enoch's way of calling. The third godly way that Noah inherited was Enoch's way of calling on the name of the Lord to enjoy all that he is. This was an addition to the first two godly ways. It was not only a matter of being saved or of pleasing God, but of participating in and enjoying what God is by calling on His name. We may partake of the riches of God by calling on the name of the Lord. Noah must have practiced this. All the father's way of living and begetting. Noah also inherited the way of living and begetting. Noah, like his forefathers, was not idle, but was living with a purpose for God and begetting children for man's proper multiplication, that God's purpose might be fulfilled on this earth through mankind. Enoch's way of walking with God. Noah also inherited the fifth way, the way of walking with God. How good it is that a fallen man can walk with God. Although it is marvelous to see that a fallen man can be saved, we must further realize that such a person can walk with God. In the seventh human generation, Enoch discovered the way of walking with God.